What up, my dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome to the WARFRAME video. So today we're going over my new favorite frame. Yes, he truly is my new favorite frame, Sevagoth Wraith. He is the coolest, he is my favorite, and he's actually pretty strong. Before we get into it, make sure you are subbed to this YouTube channel for seeing those WARFRAME videos going up. And if you want to check out the live streams, the link is on the screen right now. Alright, so we're going to be talking about Sevagoth. There's a lot of Forma on this build. There's a lot of stuff going on here, honestly. We've got the frame build itself, which will be some Forma on there. We've got the Sevagoth Shadow Form, which has another separate build, which requires different Formas and all that kind of stuff. And then we've got a Sevagoth Shadow Claws as well. So these are three different builds we're going over today. Keep in mind, a lot of things about them stay the same across, but we're going to first go over his abilities and what they do. Let's start with his passive ability. His passive's actually got two parts to it. So the first part that you might want to keep in mind is that when he dies, he will turn into the Tombstone of Death. And then you can turn to your Shadow Form instantly, and then you will start one-shotting enemies. You one-shot 5 enemies while you're in the Shadow Form. You will actually turn back into Sevagoth, and you can just do your Sevagoth things. There's basically no cooldown on it, so feel free to die again if you'd like to start one-shotting some enemies again. So there you go. Keep in mind, your Shadow Form can die while you're in here, and if you die there, you are dead for sure. So don't die in your Shadow Form when you're trying to kill those 5 enemies. The second part of his passive is actually going to be involving this bar you see on the side over here. What it's going to do is actually, while you cast your abilities and kill enemies with these abilities, it will build up the meter. Once the meter's high enough, and you've killed enough enemies with your affected by your abilities, it will let you transform into your Shadow Form to use different sub abilities, because the Shadow Form has different abilities than the base version form. So as you can see, just use your first ability. It's going to put a debuff on them. Then now that the bar is 75% full, push the 4, you can turn into the Shadow Form and walk around and do the Shadow Form things. There are different abilities here, and the fourth ability for the Shadow Form returns you to normal form. You will slowly drain that effect while you're in Shadow Form. Alright, so that's the passive parts right there. Let's go over the first ability. The first ability will throw out the Ghost, and it will roam the battlefield and do some various debuffing and some light radiation damage. If you aim down sights while the Ghost is flying around, it will go to where your cursor is aimed. Keep in mind, while you have melee out, if you ADS, it will actually pull out a gun and it will aim right there. So very good for going around. This also is a damage debuff on the enemies, making them take additional damage. Seems like from all sources. So with this build, we got 77% damage vulnerability, and it goes up higher, much higher than this. And you can use exterior power strength buffs to make it deal a bigger damage vulnerability and deal more damage when it runs into an enemy. The range will affect the radius at which, like, the face of this thing will start debuffing enemies. So let's just go ahead and pause these guys so we can show the debuffing Ghost. It will be kind of hard to see with this energy color. You can see with the damage numbers, it hit everyone in this area. If we had lower range, it would not hit all of them at the same time. So very, very good. Just easy to debuff. And they will take additional damage, like I said. Very good for melee things, if you got viral procs in there too, that's additional damage amplification. So he's a very good, just very good debuffer frame from just that ability alone, how easy it is to use. Let's go over the second ability now, and this one is actually going to be probably his worst ability, but also one of my favorite abilities because of what it does. So what this does is it's called Sow. The first ability is called Reap. This one's Sow. Reap Sow. You push the second ability, and it will place a death seed, is what they describe it as. So basically, you put like a mini Saryn present inside an enemies in the area, and then it will cause damage over time. And then once you press the first ability button, it will detonate and apparently percent damage in the area. It was kind of hard to tell how much percentage it was, and I don't really want to do the nerd math right now. So we're just going to say it does percentage damage when it explodes. And something you want to keep in mind, once you've cast this ability, if the enemies are still affected by it, you cannot recast it until the enemies have died. So that when you press the first ability, once the second ability is already active, the explosion goes off. These guys are level 180 heavy gunners. So this is where grouping enemies together is going to come really into effect, as well as viral procking. So as you can see, when they're all grouped together in viral procced, you can just explode some fools, especially affected by the debuff. So you've got the debuff from viral effects, you've got the debuff from your first ability, and they're taking percent damage as well. So it's really, really nice, and a pretty satisfying ability to use, honestly. So I do like that one. And once we go over his third ability, you'll understand why it's dealing percent damage over time as well. All right, so that is Reap and Sow. The combination together get some good results when enemies are grouped together. And we've got Gloom. This is his subsumable ability that you can put other frames of the Helminth system. This one is going to be a slowing aura, which will also give you lifesteal from all damage dealt, including abilities. So with this amount of power strength, it's going to be a 54% slow, and it can go all the way up to 95%. With about 270% power strength, it's a 95% slow in the area. Something you also want to keep in mind, it has an initial energy cost, and it's a drain over time. This drain over time can get very ridiculous at higher or at negative efficiency values. So you do want to definitely run a little bit of efficiency on this guy in most situations if you want to be running around this slow. And Arcane Energize is also going to be your friend. I'd say this guy basically requires an Arcane Energize, but he is a very late game frame, so you're kind of expected to have it at that point. Alright, so like I said, it's lifesteal on all damage effects. So when you have the damage over time from your second ability, it's actually going to make it where you're going to be healing just by having enemies in the area around you. So we're going to cast it. They are slowed down. It expands outwards, and range is going to affect this as well. So we're going to cast our 2. Enemies are taking damage over time. So once we start taking some health damage here, if they can actually... See, they're also slowed down, so they're going to have a hard time breaking your shield in the first place. Once they actually break it, we'll start taking some damage. Now we'll cast our 2. They're taking damage over time. We're going to heal back to nearly full every second. And not to mention, if we attack with our weapons, it's a full life steal. So, as long as you're not getting one shot, you should not die with this ability. So very, very good stuff there. At mega high levels, you will get one shot, depending on how much health you have. But overall, a good ability, and it can also affect your teammates as well. So, say you subsume this onto Saryn. As long as the enemy is in your slowing aura, they will be healing you from Saryn abilities, and et cetera, et cetera. Like you have an Equinox, you have an Mesa, lifesteal on abilities for them as well. So very, very good. And the more power strength they have, the slower the enemies will become. And honestly, there's certain Helminth synergies with this where the enemies become useless. Alright, so we've gone over the 3 abilities in his base form. Let's go over the Shadow Form Transformation. So like I said, you need to mark enemies and kill them to build up the meter. Thankfully, we have the meter up right now. So we will summon these guys out, and we're going to activate the Shadow Form. So, something you want to keep in mind, your third ability will stay active in the base form while you're in the Shadow Forms. You'll keep that slowing healing aura, and the healing aura is actually really good for the Shadow. So we're in Shadow Form now. The first ability on the Shadow Form is going to pull all the enemies in. It's called Shadow Pull or something like that, and they are very easy to murder at that point. So we'll just use the heavy attack because the heavy attack has guaranteed slash procs, and, you know, it's just a complete joke. Like, they are instantly dead. They die in one hit. They're only level 50. Of course, it will do the same thing at level 180, so don't you worry about that. But yeah, that is the first ability in a nutshell. It is extremely good. It's the Shadow's best ability, honestly. The pull-in attack. It has extremely high range, and it should probably hit some of them from over here. Yeah, it pulled them from over there. And we're not even debuffing them. We can actually debuff them with the Shadow's third ability, so let's go over that as well. So we've got the Shadow's second... Let's go with the Shadow's second ability first. Ability not ready. Oh, we need to kill a couple more enemies debuff, and then we will get our Shadow Form back. Let's just easily kill them with the debuff. Alright, they are all dead. Now we'll use the Shadow Form second ability. You dash through them, it will basically just stun them and make enemies confused. And it will also heal the Shadow a good chunk. So very good stuff there. The third ability is just like an AoE debuff. Not a very exciting ability, but it gets the job done. You'll be dealing so much damage you don't really need to debuff, to be honest. But it is a thing you can do. And like I said, the fourth ability transfers you back to the Shadow. Something you definitely want to keep in mind with this Shadow Form's first ability. It actually works on Acolytes in the Steel Path. So, if you go on the Steel Path and you're like, oh man, the Acolyte's so annoying, well, you have the first ability on Sevagoth Shadow, which will crowd control the Acolyte and make them a joke. The Acolyte is basically... They're nothing now. You heavy attack them like once or twice, a slash proc will kill them, and you are Sevagoth Shadow. You don't really care. So good stuff there. Let's go over the builds now. And yes, I said builds. There are multiple builds here, and there are 3 Umbra Forma being used and utilized here. We also have lots of different setups for this. So we'll just go over the standard what I was using in a lot of this gameplay footage. So we have growing power in the Exilus slot, or the Aura slot. So like I said, the more power strength you have on Sevagoth, the higher your slow effect will be. So with this much, it's going to be about like a 65% slow, 66. It's very similar to Nova's Molecular Prime buff in that regard. And like I also said, the more power strength you jam, the more slow you will get. So let's just jam nearly as much strength as we can here. So about 260% strength, 91. You throw in one more power strength mod at that point, and you are going to have the full 95 right there, 274. So you want about 270 if you want maximum major slow. Now here's where some of the tricks come in play. There's things like the Empower Helminth ability, which will give you 50% strength. And what this does, since the slow is a channeled ability, you cast this, then cast this, you get 50% more power strength. It will make it so you're close to that 270% threshold for the major slow you're looking for. There's other things you can also do. And this build is not really focused on major slows. We also have the Kit Gun Arcane Pax Bolt. What this one will do is give you 30% power strength on headshot kill. Also ability efficiency, but this only lasts until the effect runs out. The power strength lasts forever, the efficiency does not, on channeled ability specifically. So something like a hard-hitting Tomb Finger Kit Gun with the headshot multiplier will be great. You can also use the Catch Moon or things of that nature. So yeah, like I said, the first mod slot just giving you more power strength. Between this, Empower, and the Pax Bolt Arcane, you're going to be getting about like 100 plus extra power strength, and you'll be slowing them so much it's not going to matter. It's 95 fully. Prime Sure-Footed is a essential mod, in my opinion, especially if you're using AoE weapons like we will be in this loadout. If you don't have this, you can definitely run Power Drift in that slot for more power strength, which he does enjoy. Some more range is always nice as well to make it so your slow is going to affect more of an area. Things of that nature. So these two slots up here, very flexible, honestly. We do have an Aura Polarity on the Aura slot here. There's an Aura Forma, is what I'm trying to say. So I can put any Aura I want up here. Keep in mind, Steel Charge will give you more capacity, but when you Forma him this much, you really don't need to run Steel Charge. Although the melee bonus is nice. You've got Adaptation on here, just personal preference. It makes it so you're taking less damage on your health bar when they do break through your shield, and since you're life stealing so much, it makes you relatively hard to kill. We only have 750 health with these two Umbra mods, but it does make us feel more tanky. And this mod slot is very flexible. If you're trying to go for like an endurance setup, like maybe this Silence of the Void Helminth build we have here, where we're using Silence from Banshee, you can maybe run Rolling Guard, try to shield gate a little bit with Brief Respite, things like that. Augur mods are going to be your friend as well to get full shield. But yeah, when they're affected by Silence from Banshee and you're slow with a high power strength bonus, they are very useless. They're stunned from this and slowed, so the stun animation lasts basically forever, and you are the melee god. But we'll focus on the standard build for now. Continuing on, we have Umbral Intensify, which is in the Umbra Polarity slot. I formatted a little bit extra just to show that you could fit this entire build on, even though the mods are not maxed out. But yeah, Umbral Intensify, very good for the power strength, like I said, and Umbral Vitality. Gonna increase the stats of Umbral Intensify from 44% to 55%. And it's also going to give us some more health as well, which is a good stat on Sevagoth. Notice how he has a very low base armor value. I did not find Umbral Fiber worth slotting personally. If you want to run Umbral Fiber, it will give you a couple more percentage of damage reduction on your health. But like I said, we're going to we have to actually reload it. It's going to give you about like 20, 30% extra. Yeah, you go to 51% armor on your health. And I just didn't find it worth it. So we're going to go back to the build we have already with a maxed out Streamline and a Prime Sure-Footed. Of course, like I said, if you want to run another Umbra form on him, be my guest. But this is what felt really good. And since the drain is ridiculous on his 3, we are running Streamline max rank and Fleeting Expertise rank 3. You could definitely make this work differently, where you're going to go 75% efficiency, but I find 170 fine. So we can keep it like that. These two mods are going to give it so your drain is basically nothing, and the sow is going to cost 15 energy, and the reap will cost 7.5. So you could definitely go a little bit less into efficiency than I did, but the thing of Sevagoth, if your 3 ever goes down, you die. That's pretty much how I view him. So you want to make sure your 3 is never down. So making sure that it never goes down with Prime Flow, Fleeting Expertise, and Streamline, I found essential, and definitely something you should probably consider as well. The last couple mods here, we have Stretch for increased range. I've tried a much higher range build, but this felt great. Keep in mind, the range on this build does not affect the Shadow. The Shadow is a much higher range setup, and the amount of power strength you have on this build also affects the Shadow's claw damage. But we deal a lot of claw damage with only 155%, to be honest. All right, in Prime Continuity in the last slot, you don't really need duration on him. As you can see, it's 105%, but the lower negative duration is basically real bad, is what I'm going to tell you. You don't want to go too low. All right, so that's the things we got here. We got Arcane Energize and Arcane Strike, very, very important here. You don't need Strike. Of course, you could run something like Aegis or maybe even Avenger, but yeah, let's get some gameplay on the screen while I'm talking about this stuff as well, because, we don't got all day. All right, here is a Steel Path Survival. where we're running just the standard build I'm showing you right here. So we're going to move on to the Shadow build here, and we're also going to talk about the weapons I'm utilizing here. So on the Shadow itself, it's going to also have an Umbra Forma on this build. Keep in mind, this build is not really doable without Umbra Forma. You could maybe make it work if you had lower rank mods, but this is what I'm showing. I'm showing you what I have right now, and I'm telling you it is good. It is very good. We've got the Shadow build here. Now, what you want to definitely think about using here is Preparation mod. When you go into the Shadow form, this will fully fill your energy bar, which is really nice. You could definitely run Prime Flow as well, but we didn't go with that. We're going to go Hunter Adrenaline. Whenever the Shadow takes health damage, it will give us energy back. And we have the Lifesteal Aura from the base form, which will be really good for giving us ridiculous amounts of energy. Swift Momentum is our aura of choice here. Of course, you can definitely switch it out. There's an Aura Forma on this Shadow as well. We got Steel Charge you can definitely switch between as well, or things like that. This is going to make it so the heavy attacks go faster. And the heavy attacks on this thing are ridiculous. Definitely give them a shot. It will one-shot nearly every enemy. The rest of this stuff is pretty standard. We're going to go with Rolling Guard. Now, here's the thing about Rolling Guard on the Shadow. I find Rolling Guard very important because the Shadow can die. Like I said, the Shadow can die. And getting that slash proc off of you with the Shadow with Rolling Guard is very good. It will give you a little brief point of invincibility. It's not really a big deal if you die on the Shadow, to be honest, but you'd like to avoid it if possible. So I found that really useful and not needed, but definitely like something you might want to consider. Continuing on with the build here, the last couple of slots are just range. Like I said, you want to make this clawed pull range as nearly as high as possible. So 53 meter pull, it's ridiculous. It pulls the entire hallway to you. Then they're just one heavy attack away from dying. And the rest of the stuff, you don't really, the way I look at it, you don't need much strength on the Shadow form because the debuff is not very important since you do so much damage already. We're using a heavy attack build. I'll show you a light attack build for the claws as well, but I found this one really, really important. The max range, nearly max range, and preparation and all that stuff. The final build we're going to show you, I know it's a long one already, isn't it? Is going to be the Shadow Claws. And here are the Shadow Claws heavy attack build right here. Now, something I definitely noticed while modding this out. Look at how tight this build is. It's so tight, we don't even have a maxed out Corrupt Charge. But here's the good thing about not having to max out Corrupt Charge. With with a rank 2 Corrupt Charge, you actually still get the combo multiplier with 22 hits. Maxed out Corrupt Charge is 30 initial combo hits, which will not get you to another combo multiplier anyway. So rank 2 Corrupt Charge actually fits on this build. And a lot of people will tell me Berserker does not do much for the heavy attacks, so that's fine. You can just run Gladiator Might. Keep in mind, the Gladiator mod's set bonus does not apply to the Shadow Claws, which is kind of lame, but that is how it is. So if you don't want to run Berserker, run Gladiator Might for more damage and have some fun. The rest of the stuff is Sacrificial Steel. Sacrificial Pressure will let you red crit on heavy attacks. Organ Shatter, Killing Blow. These are going to be making it so you do massively increased damage. Prime Reach for convenience, and Prime Smite Grenier. So whatever faction you're fighting against, switch out the Bane mod for that one, and it will make the slash procs do a lot more damage. You're seeing like 200,000, 300,000 slash proc damage from one heavy attack with this guy. So yeah, really, really good stuff there. We'll do a light attack build here as well. Now, I know you could go like a viral slash setup here, but I just wanted to go corrosive. It seemed like it was pretty good to me. And you could definitely run Condition Overload instead of Prime Pressure Point. But I'm really not using this build that much, to be honest. So I would not highly recommend it. If you're going to be running a build like this, put a Dash Polarity on your claws. But if I put a Dash Polarity on here, this build would not be possible anymore. So that's why I didn't put a Dash Polarity on my build for the Shadow Claws, okay? And you could definitely run some lower rank like dual stat mods to make the viral less weighted than the slash and all that kind of stuff, but I don't really like doing that personally. It's going to be honestly up to you. So that is all the builds for the Sevagoth and all that stuff. Like I said, some good subsume abilities. Empower is really good. I tried out Breach Surge. Breach Surge was pretty fun. It wasn't like God tier, but it was good. And Empower and Silence, those are the two that I mainly was trying out. For a like really high power strength, low efficiency, slow build, you could try maybe Dispensary and camp on top of it to make the 95% slow in the area. And let's go over some weapons that are really good on Sevagoth, because, you know, like I said, grouping enemies is really good. I'm enjoying the Telos Boltace a lot with him. If you remember what the Telos Boltace does, on slide attack, it creates a vortex that will pull enemies in and make it so it's very easy to blow them up with your 2 and 1 combination. Not to mention, you'll also debuff them with the 1, much easier too when they're grouped up like that. We're also running the Probiscus Cernos, or Probiscus Cernos. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I don't really care. That's a great one for Sevagoth, honestly. It's going to have that viral and heat combination if you want to run that, debuffing enemies, also pulling them in together, making it a relatively easy situation to kill them. And you could even run a corrosive build. Let's say you're running the Panzer Volpiphyla with its viral quills ability, which will 10 stack viral enemies all over the place. You could put corrosive on your Probiscus Cernos to actually, make it so it's viral and corrosive. Because when the enemies have a lot of armor, the explosion damage from your Reap and Sow combo does not really do that much. The damage over time is apparently true damage, but the explosion, it seems like it's like impact damage, honestly. So, yeah, definitely give those things a try if you are interested in it. These weapons, this is no Kuva Nucor required. You could, of course, run the Kuva Nucor if you wanted to. But you need to find another source of pulling enemies in together. You could maybe try the Operator Arcane Magus Anomaly. You could maybe try a Zaw with the Exodia Hunt Arcane, which I did utilize a little bit when testing things out, and it was pretty good. I actually enjoyed a Rob V Zaw with the Exodia Hunt Arcane to pull enemies in, and then I Kuva Nucor them and then blow them up with the explosions, and that's really fun. Lots of healing for you. As long as you're not getting one shot, you're fine. And like I said, when you do die, you just turn to the Shadow Form and one-shot 5 enemies, and you're back to it. Like, it's like old Wukong vibes, honestly, when Wukong used to be immortal. So, yeah, he is my new favorite frame. His farm sucks. I'd say maybe just buy him, honestly. The amount of stuff you have to go, the amount of hoops you have to jump through to even start farming this guy in the first place is ridiculous. So, he comes from the Veil Proxima Voidstorm missions. They also come from the Pluto Proxima Voidstorm missions, which I believe are Axii missions. It's a lot of garbage to actually start farming him. So I'd say he costs about like 300 plat. Maybe farm it out. If you got a job or something, maybe buy the plat. It's honestly up to you guys, like I said, but it's going to be a pain to farm him. A lot of people are saying it sucks to farm, especially with how buggy the Voidstone missions are. And it's like a Korra situation where it's like 10% chance to get it. I keep getting the helmet. Like, why is it always dropping the helmet? I want the chassis or whatever. That might happen to you, and your time is probably more valuable than that. So maybe just try to get the 300 plat, bite the bullet, comes with the reactor and all that stuff. So, yeah. And the amount of Forma. Let's count the Forma on this setup here. I will tell you right now, I find this worth it. Maybe if you don't have the Forma sitting around to make this build work, hopefully Plaguestar comes back sometime soon, because it is a ridiculous Forma investment. So let's take a look at the setup of all the Forma. So this is 5 Forma on the build, the frame build itself, including 1 Umbra Forma, and one of those is an Aura Forma as well. If you didn't want to run Prime Sure-Footed, you could maybe not have to run this many Forma. So that's 5 Forma there. Let's go over the Sevagoth Shadow Form, which, now, I'm going to tell you right now, don't think you really need to run an Umbra Forma on the Shadow itself. You could definitely get away with running normal Intensify, normal Vitality. These Umbra mods here are not definitely needed at all, because you're just going for max range anyway. The strength, like I said, the strength of the debuff hardly even matters because you do so much damage, and the power strength from the frame itself is what counts here. So we've got 5 Forma on the Shadow Form, including 1 Aura Forma and 1 Umbra Forma. So lots of investment there, and of course you could run different Arcanes if you want to. And the Shadow Claws actually have the most Forma of them all, with 7 Forma. Now keep in mind, one of these is a meme Forma, so it's actually going to be 6 Forma for this build, because we are just actually formatting the stance slot to see if it was like a bug, because we weren't getting capacity. I put a V Polarity up here, because apparently in the database, this Ravenous Wraith combo is a dash Polarity. Apparently also, some of these combos have some good force slash. I believe the blocking combo Void Torrent has some good slash in it. So that's going to be 6 Forma on this build, including 1 Umbra Forma. For this Bane mod, all this stuff, heavy build. Like I said, the light build, if you're going to go down the light attack route, you will not be able to make this exact build work, but you might, maybe you'll like it more with more corrosive damage. Alright guys, so that is going to be it for the video, and like I said, the Probiscus Cernos, we had a video on it on the previous, why is Internal Bleeding on here? This is the wrong build. This one, Amalgam Serration to make it so you run faster, and then the rest of the stuff just viral heat and multi-shot to pull the enemies in. That's actually a corrosive heat, whatever. And, like I said, Pax Bolt, just as long as you can one-shot stuff, that's all that really matters. On the Tomb Finger, and other kick guns will work. And then the Telos Boltace and the Electric build, just for fun. Yeah, that's it, guys. Hopefully you found the video helpful and fun. I'd say he's definitely worth having. Essential? No, definitely not. He is not like a meta-defining frame. He is a fun solo frame. He can definitely have some support capabilities where you're healing your teammates, slowing down the enemies. And I'm really enjoying him. The Shadow Form is really strong. And I will probably make some more videos on him in the future as well. Like, this is not the final Sevagoth video at all. So look out for another Helminth video, maybe a Helminth overview of Sevagoth in the future. And now that I've talked about all of his builds, I want to talk about them again in the future as well. Where it's like, oh, here's the build for the claws, here's the build for the shadow. No, going forward, we'll just be like, all right, well, here's the good stuff. Here's Breach Surge with his explosions, which is really fun. All right, guys, take it easy. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and let me know how you feel about Sevagoth in the comments down below. Take it easy. See you Monday.